Well, for the first time tonight, we're hearing police recordings of New Orleans Archbishop Gregory Amen being interviewed by child sex abuse allegations. Now, good evening and thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Sharice Gibson. Katie is off tonight. Investigative reporter David Hammer and our partners at The Guardian obtained that evidence, which paints a much more clear picture about what and when Amen knew about the abuse. Here's the latest installment of Losing Faith and a warning. This story includes details that may be difficult to hear.
Back in the year 2000, before John Young became a Jefferson Parish councilman and later president of Louisiana's biggest parish, he was just a dad who wouldn't let his sons get an Xbox video game system.
Because he wanted us to do more, constructive things.
That's when a successful lawyer who lived down the street stepped in. V.M. Wheeler bought an Xbox for John Young III and his younger brother, Mac McCall.
He said we could only play it at his house. So he gave us keys to his house, and he would let us go there when he wasn't there.
Mac was just 10 or 11 years old at the time.
He eventually started to ask us to sleep over.
Wheeler lived on Hector Avenue in Old Metairie, just 6 doors down from the Youngs. And the more Mac hung out with him, the bolder Wheeler got.
There was heavy petting in the shower, touching. And then I'd go and lay in bed, and then I'd wake up, and he'd be performing oral sex. I mean, he would grab me, and he would hurt me sometimes, so he was bullying me in that way, physically. So he was scaring me that if I would go forward, he would do something to me.
But his older brother, Johnny, wasn't as easily intimidated. As soon as he got back from a ski trip to Utah with Wheeler in 2002, Johnny told his mom that Wheeler had made him sleep in the same bed with him. His mom, Mary Lou McCall, was a prominent Catholic TV host at the time, filming a documentary with retired Archbishop Philip Hannon. In this recorded interview with Jefferson Parish Sheriff's detectives, she says she immediately reported the incident to Hannon and the head of the deacon training program, Jim Swiler.
He's talking about becoming a deacon for this Archdiocese, and if you all make him a deacon and he ends up abusing any child, and now that you've heard my story, this is like a warning, then it's on you.
Hannon died in 2011. Swiler died in 2016. Church law required them to record the complaint, but years later, current Archbishop Gregory Amen would insist that a complaint was never made. And in June 2018, Amen ordained V.M. Wheeler a deacon. Mary Lou McCall told police she confronted Amen about it.
And I said, there should be a record, and Archbishop, if there isn't a record, here's where you're going to be in trouble.
Was it ever brought up to you that they were under the impression that there was a formal report given to the head of the diaconate?
No, I had heard about that when all this broke, and I went to Deacon Dupelshane and said, please check the file. And he said, there's nothing. And obviously, if we had heard anything, he wouldn't have been ordained.
But Wheeler was ordained on June 23, 2018. 3 months later, Mac and his dad, John Young, went to see Amen at the Archbishop's residence.
I told him that he heavily petted me and touched my genitals, and I was scared to tell him the whole truth because I told my dad before the meeting I don't feel comfortable around the Archbishop or around any of the clergy. I don't trust them.
His dad remembered the same thing in his interview with the detective.
Touching on his genital area, with his pants on, but over his pants. I remember the Archbishop mentioning his grooming activities. I thought it was a little more than grooming.
Not only did he say there was no sexual activity, abuse, but it was also very clear that neither he nor his dad wanted to participate in any kind of investigation.
Again, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's detectives pressed Amen about how he responded to Mac's 2018 complaint.
Do you feel he was being sincere in what he was telling you?
Yes. However, now, the story's changed 3 times. And that's a fact, as you all well know. So I'm not saying I don't believe him, but I also want to say respectfully that his past in terms of drugs and alcohol and being in a psychiatric hospital and all, which I didn't know at the time, I think that plays into it.
Max says raising his history of drug abuse was a low blow.
So a lot of victims and a lot of survivors have drug issues because they're trying to self-medicate because they were abused. It's like attacking somebody and then blaming them for the injury.
Less than 2 months after Mac and his dad met with Amon, the Archbishop put out a list of more than 50 clergy credibly accused of sexual abuse. He did not include Wheeler on the list.
And Max said, "There's something I didn't tell you." And that's when he said that they were in the shower together and that there was oral sex.
Archbishop Amon suspended Wheeler from ministry in August 2020. The Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office arrested Wheeler in March 2021. He pled guilty to indecent behavior with a juvenile in December 2022. He died this past April while serving 5 years probation. But Amon just added him to the credibly accused list 2 weeks ago. So why did it take so long? We'll tell you the church's shifting explanations for that tomorrow. David Hammer, Eyewitness News.
In a statement, Archbishop Amon said, quote, "I told the officers the truth as told by me, to me by Mac in the presence of his father, John Young." Now, these police recordings were first obtained through a public records request by victims advocate Richard Windman, who shared them with David.